Hi, everyone. So I'm here today with my friend Carolyn, and I'm really excited that she agreed to be part of a video because I think it's really important as we're talking about preconception health and getting ready to get pregnant and getting pregnant, that we also acknowledge that there are a lot of women that have trouble getting pregnant. And I'm just really thankful that you're so open to talk about this subject, Carolyn, because I think a lot of women think that it's only them or that it's not, a lot of women, that other women don't have the same problem. But I think that having trouble getting pregnant is something that's a lot more common than we would think. So, Carolyn, can you tell me just a little bit of like when you thought that you had a problem, or when you decided to kind of reach out for help around fertility and that sort of thing?
Sure. Um, I had started suspecting that I was having issues with fertility, probably within the first 9 months of seeing my husband and being together. We had stopped using birth control, kind of early on, and we were kind of the opinion if it happens, it happens, and then when it didn't happen, we're just kind of like, okay, well, that's a little funny, and maybe we should start looking into it a little bit more. And so we kind of started, at least talking and having a conversation between my husband and I about, you know, what are the things that we're willing to do in our fertility journey? What are the things that we're not willing to do? And just kind of progress from there.
That seems really important that you'd be on the same page and be able to have kind of like an open discussion about that, like as partners, because it seems like that'd be a hard thing to talk about. Like it could easily feel like, one person feels blamed or.
Yeah, and I with my husband and and he's so accepting of this situation, either way it goes. Um, but he's just willing to be there by my side and be part of this journey, however it turns out. So,
That's so great that you have a supportive partner. That's awesome.
yeah.
So, how did you decide to how did you decide which doctor to call, or who you wanted to reach out to, or what was the process that way?
So we started by just going through my health insurance company and just seeing which doctors were in network, and really just exploring through our insurance what our personal benefits were. My
It's a good
company,
idea. I mean, it could get
yeah.
expensive if it wasn't covered.
Absolutely. And we had initially done a consultation with a fertility specialist that is world renowned, and he's right in our backyard, but he is not contracted with many of the major insurances. And
Ugh.
so it was kind of disappointing, because you get your hopes up, by seeing this doctor who has a proven record of success, and then it's like, okay, well, you have to be financially responsible about the decisions that you're making. And if you can use someone who's in network with your insurance and get the same results, then you should try going those routes first. And so we did end up seeing another fertility specialist. And we had an initial consultation. This doctor is in network with our insurance, and through investigating with my company's health insurance policy, they do provide up to 6 attempts through in vitro. And not necessarily saying that that's where we would begin, but if it comes to in vitro, that's probably the most invasive tactic, and we do have benefits for that.
So you were thinking really long term, like if we needed to get to there,
Correct.
wanting to have it be covered.
Right, absolutely. And for me personally, my goal is to try and achieve pregnancy naturally. I did not want to go immediately to any kind of invasive therapies, and so that's kind of the track that we're on right now.
So what's like step one?
Okay. Yeah. So step one, when you go see a fertility specialist, is you'll have your initial consultation with the doctor, and they will walk you through all of um, the different options that you have. And first of all, it's trying to figure out what is causing the infertility. Is it male factor or is it a female factor? And so the man, goes through a semen analysis, and that's pretty non-invasive for the man. And they're able to determine whether there's any issues with sperm count, motility, morphology, any of those types of factors. And they can either rule in or rule out the male causes the factor. And then they will also test the female, and there's different things that they'll do to test the female. And one of those is trying to determine whether you have enough eggs in your ovaries. If you're running low, then that could, definitely be a factor. They also check to see if your ovaries, if you do ovulate or not. And they also check to see if your fallopian tubes are open, or if you have any type of endometrial scarring or anything like that that could prevent implantation of an egg. So there's multiple things that you can that they do for the women to try and determine what that factor is. For me, one of the things was my thyroid level was too high. So that's a relatively simple fix, and so they put me on a medication called Synthroid, and so they are hoping to get my thyroid levels down to a level where it's optimal to get pregnant.
And you were telling me that there is like a normal range for, everyday people, and that the range for pregnancy is even more narrow.
Correct.
In terms of what they want to see. And I mean, that's just like such a simple thing to do, like get your thyroid checked. Like it seems like that should be step one for the female, or after the male for the female. Or
and it could be a combination of things, which is why they do everything
at the same time,
all at the same time. And it's really testing that they do over the course of a month or 2 months, depending on when you start seeing your fertility specialist. And so, when you're done with all of their rounds of testing, then they'll call you in for a final meeting, and they'll give you a synopsis of, what they've determined to be the cause of your infertility.
But lots of different steps, lots of different things they can tweak.
Correct.
It's not just like one cause. I mean,
correct.
It's kind of a detective process.
It is. It's definitely an investigation, and there is trial and error. So right now, I'm taking a medication, and it could be maybe as simple as that in order to get pregnant. And so right now we are still trying to conceive naturally, but just taking the medication. So.
Yay, good luck to you.
Thank you.
And how do you keep your spirits up? Just, I'm sure it's hard emotionally. What advice would you give to other people facing infertility?
I would say that it is really more common than a lot of people think. It is somewhat awkward when, people come up to you and say, oh, well, now that you're married, are you guys having babies? And,
right.
It is kind of hard, but,
pressure.
I find that just kind of being honest without going into detail is usually enough, and be like, so what I do is I tell people that we're trying and we're just having some difficulty. And that's, just being truthful, but it also helps people to understand, what our situation is as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. And then just one last thing that I thought of, like when did the doctors say was a good time to reach out, or what questions did they ask you to make sure that it was appropriate that you were seeking infertility treatment? Because, women, some women might take 1 month, 6 months to get pregnant. I mean, there's kind of a variation there. So when should somebody be concerned that they've been trying for a certain amount of time and they haven't gotten pregnant?
So generally, they say if you haven't gotten pregnant within a year, to then consider talking to a doctor, talk to your primary care or OB/GYN doctor first before you seek a fertility specialist. However, for women over 35, they do say after 6 months of trying without success.
Different timeline depending on your age.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Okay.
All right. Thank
Good.
you.
Thanks so much, Carolyn.